The next item on the agenda was to discuss our pretrial services. We've had the draft of the job descriptions sent out. Does anybody need that again? Or do we have any questions on that? Because we had the Douglas County presentation last month. And I think the consensus was that they're very well supported by their quorum court or equivalent of. And is there anything that we can do to get that support?
When are you going to submit this to the quorum court or start that process?
If we can get something solidified, I would like to present it to them. Nick, do you know if they have December? They do? Okay. It would be nice to be able to submit it to them in their December meeting. If there's no questions, we can submit what we have.
I would suggest taking a current snapshot of who's incarcerated, and if it was already implemented, who would qualify, or who would at least be like to be able to walk them through the process, because they're going to want to see the metric, like how many people were we talking, how many free beds would have, who's not been. So if you gathered a group of names, let's say it's a 200, 300, and then you shot it to Leanne and Matt and saw if they were comfortable with that. And I don't know what you two all would need to see, because again, this is just a hypothetical. Would it be the charges? I don't know. I would just kind of do some mock-up so that they could see the level of impact, because we're asking for money. They're going to want to know, what impact that's going to have.
I would ask Drew. I only had a brief time to do this morning, so I may be totally off base, but I went to the McDonald County website and looked up their budget. And, again, I was in a hurry because I didn't have much time, but I found one proposed, I think they've adopted their budget. No, this was 2022. It was like community corrections, $536,920. And then it appeared to me, and again, I may be wrong, that their budgeted amount for services outside the jail was $1.5 million.
Okay. I can follow up on that and look that up. You said McDonald County? Douglas County? Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah, that was, but we talked about that in the pretrial meeting, is that was one of my concerns is this the budget and what we can get passed. I mean, I think we need to ask for what we need, but we just need to make sure it's a number that's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
No, I couldn't quite tell, and maybe I probably wasn't looking in the right place, how many criminal cases they have a year. But I asked them when we visited with them, in their jail detention center only holds 250 people. So I'm guessing their docket is a lot smaller than ours is. And this is how much money they budget. If that is correct, around $2 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Judge, they had said they were, so they assess everybody that's housed in the jail, and there's 20 people a week. So they got 20 intakes, which is obviously, I don't know where we're at. Maybe Jay could shed some light on what a weekly average is, but I'm assuming we're significantly larger.
We're about 1,000 a month on intakes. That's
so 250 a week. So it's a little bigger.
Yeah, just a little.
And I would say a part of that proposal has to really focus on the caseload management, the size. So for every person, I don't know if they call officers or what they specifically called them, but they can only handle so many. And they had divided up in three, right? There's like one person actually working in the jail, and then another person was doing just those that got put on the ankle monitors, and the other person was doing the rest. So we probably have to just be very clear when we're asking for staff, that's dictating the amount of impact it's going to have.
Mhm.
So if they're going, well, we just don't want as many staff. Okay, we got to know that that's going to reduce the impact. It's going to reduce the possibility of, you know, of the 250 a week or the 1,000 a month, how many could qualify for that? It'd be based on caseload management size.
Right. And Mike Parker had mentioned that 40 was best practice as far as caseload.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, so that would be what? At least 8.
And really the thought process, and maybe we didn't ask him this, but let's say in the first week we got 4 staff members, so we've got a total of 160 people. Let's say as a 250 show up 1 week and 160 get released. Well, they can't take on any more. They can't do another assessment until somebody completes their case.
Right.
It could be 3 to 6 months before their caseload number goes down. Again, when you're doing 20 a week, it's just very different. It's different.
Sure.
Matt, how or Jay, like if there's 1,000 people, how many do we think would qualify to basically this process is to OR out people with a little more oversight. So how many are not getting OR'd out that we think would qualify with a little more oversight? Because that would really dictate what the ask is staff-wise.
Sure. And I mean, just off the top of my head, my issues on participation would be the violent offenders. I mean, this is more focused on people who are failing to appear, or even those who have had have been rearrested on a couple of occasions. So it's kind of, I'd have to see the numbers, but I mean, it could be a significant number that we could move through. But the more people we move through, and I mean, it defeats the purpose if we can't provide the services, because I mean, that's the whole point of it. It's providing services and giving them updates and checking in and making sure that they're showing up and meeting with their attorney and showing up at their court dates. And if we get to the point where it's unmanageable, then it just defeats the whole purpose.
So would you think, let's say we had a cap of, again, 160, and that 160 could take 3 months to get them processed. Would you say, you would just say, hey, these people qualify, we have 3 slots open, let's take the next, would you just keep like a running list? So when a slot comes open, the next person on the
Probably
list.
so. And I mean, keep in mind, it's still not going to change. You know, I still have an effect where I've got that list that I sent to the sheriff's office of people who I'm authorizing an OR from the get-go before they even have to go get a bond set. And I know that the judges, when they're going through on some of these lower level or first-time offenders, they're doing OR too. So some of these people are already getting out, and they still will. I'm going to keep that in place. But I mean, in terms of a waiting list type thing, yeah, I mean, I think that's what we'd have to do.
Okay.
As far as
Any-
numbers, I'd say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we will arraign each day about 20 people in custody. From looking at the bond arguments, I would say there's at least 5 to 10 at minimum each day on lower level offenses and FTA or something like that, who could probably be looked at.
Okay, that helps.
Matt, when you talk about violent offenses, does that include like a D felony battery that you don't want us to include them because it's a D felony and it could be something where, you know,
Sure,
if
yeah,
somebody's
and
doing assessments and working with them, as long as they had a place to go to where it wasn't close to the victim or anything and
yeah,
things like
right. I
that.
mean, on those lower levels, yeah, and we'd have to communicate with the victim before I could authorize their release. But yeah, I guess I should have clarified. I mean, lower level, I wouldn't have as much of an issue, provided that we're maintaining contact with the victim and whatnot, because some of those individuals could benefit from some services and someone keeping up with them and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
And would it make sense that something that, like, once we create like a scoring system, like, hey, this person's on low and they only touch base with that officer once a month, the officer that has the low could have more people because there's less contact, less services needed, and then the higher needs folks that may have complex mental illness, stuff like that, that just would take a more effort, would have a smaller caseload, so it wouldn't be straight across the board. You only can have 40 or whatever.
I mean, I would think that would be the case. That there would certainly be a question for Mike, but I mean, I would equate that to the probationers who were required to check in once every 6 months versus once a month. You can probably handle more of those, but I think that would be a question that Mike would have to answer.
Okay. Yeah, I would say if it's somebody that's low and it's just once a month, it's a phone call or something. Obviously, that's just 3 contacts, and whatever the intake process looks like. So I wouldn't take a ton of their time. We just need to do it in a way that we have enough hands-on that they're showing up to court, because that's, at the end of the day, having beds empty is great, but if they're not shown up to court, then we're defeating the purpose. So
We're just spinning our wheels. And
Mhm.
And when Mike Parker is giving us the numbers about best practices, he's talking about state employees who are working with people who have already pled and been found guilty. These will be county employees, and I think their needs will be different than what Mike is looking at.
You think there'll be less or more?
Some of them will be less, like what Nick is talking about. There'll be different levels, and some of them, if they're needing help with drug treatment, or if they're needing help with where to live, or mental health issues, then they could even be more.
Mhm.
and I think the peer support side of staff would be doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the service side initially, because most likely the needs are going to be within the first week or two they're out. And if they lean heavily on that peer support network to gain resources and opportunities, that actual caseworker probably won't do a lot of the heavy lifting, I'm assuming.
That's my understanding.
Drew, does this go first to the personnel group, or are you just supposed to present it to the quorum court now?
My understanding is that it goes to the jails committee first, since we report to them.
Do you need some of us at that meeting showing support and helping to talk about it?
That would
Yes.
be immensely helpful.
Okay, can you email us and let us know when that meeting is so we can have a good
Yes.
turnout and show
Yeah, they
support
haven't
and present it
they
to
haven't
them?
sent the December schedule yet. It should be December 5th. It's either the first or second Monday. See, the quorum court is going to be the 15th, so it should be the 5th. But I will email to confirm when they send out that schedule.
Okay, they don't have it on the calendar yet.
No. No, they usually send it out the last week of the month. They'll send out the next month's calendar for subcommittee meetings.
Did they not have one in November either?
They did not. Because of voting.
Early
because of
voting.
voting. They did not have one in October for lack of an agenda, and they didn't have one in November because of early voting.
I say let's plan on doing it in December and have an agenda for them.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. All right, anything else on pretrial services?
So just on that to confirm, Drew, you're gonna get with jail committee to get it on their agenda.
Yes, I will email. So Myra always emails those of us who present on a regular basis to get stuff, to get our presentations on there. And so I'll make sure that we put that on there.
Okay. And then who would you need help from, Drew, to get like a mock? I don't know what you call it, but basically an idea of a number based on charges, and who would you need help with to get that accomplished in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. Jay, could Jack help me with that?
Yeah, Jack, or we'll find someone if he's busy, or think he's going to be out on vacation this next week. But yeah,
Okay.
we'll find you somebody that can help pull those numbers together.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
And I'm actually going to be up in town tomorrow. If you wanted to meet tomorrow, I don't know what your schedule looks like.
Talking to me, sure, I should be around tomorrow.
Okay, cool. I'll shoot you an email.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Do we want to take public comment on this topic, or do we want to move to the next thing and do it at the end?
The next thing would be subcommittee reports. So that's, do you guys want to take public comment on this?
Yeah, I would say this is the most important thing we're going to be discussing. So
All right, John Comstock.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I just wanted to, I don't know, I was listening to the conversation about the workload, how much of it might be done by the peer support recovery specialist. And Drew, have you talked to Ashley LaHoo at the Pearl Group, Pearl?
No, I have not. Do you have her email address by chance?
I'll send it to you. I would encourage you to talk to her because she actually is in Benton County. She provides, this Pearl organization provides support for the drug court, but they also have received a grant from the state of Arkansas, and they're training a bunch of peer recovery support specialists with the goal of placing them at multiple places throughout the state. And your program here would be a perfect place for some of their candidates, maybe at least to apply for it and to be considered. But I would encourage you to reach out to her and see what she sees as the various roles for peer recovery support specialists. Because I agree with Nick. I'm thinking that the peer support person would take a lot of the load at the beginning, but I also would but I don't know that. And so I'd talk to her about that if you haven't talked to her about that. And then the other thing I was just a cautionary thing is, I liked it when Leanna said, you know, Mike Parker is definitely a great person to talk to, but we do need to keep in mind he's probation and he's post-conviction, you know, probation. And these are case managers that are doing a really different role on pretrial services. And if you look at other organizations that have used pretrial services, the job description is certainly, I think, possibly even wider, broader than for a probation officer who more is law enforcement. Anyway, I would just encourage you to talk to some people who actually do case management from the pretrial services standpoint, if you haven't done that yet. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have our subcommittee reports. Judge Beaumont is in court right now, and so we talked about mental health court. We also talked about the CSU. Kristen, if you want to give a little update on the CSU, I know that this is putting you on the spot, but if you don't mind, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't mind. Yes, so we're starting to kind of rock and roll a bit more than we have been in the last couple of months. So we are getting a number of additional referrals, and we're this week, I think, with just the timing, time of year and that sort of thing, we are seeing an increase in referrals specifically this week. We've been able to onboard a number of employees, and so they're rounding out their training this week. And so we're just feeling a bit more solid in our footing. And yeah, so I think, all things looking forward are good.
Good. Thank you. And so, yeah, we talked about what wouldn't qualify for mental health court, being the violent offenses with a weapon, and talking with Ben at the police department, or no, sorry, public defender. I put PD, and I should do that better. Talking to Ben about being public defender for mental health court, and just talking about that. Judge Beaumont reached out to Janet at the state to make sure that it is acceptable for Judge Stevenson to be the mental health court judge. And that's all I have for the program subcommittee. Next, we have the pretrial. Leanna, would you mind giving an update on the pretrial meeting?
We've been talking about the pretrial services like we talked about today. We've also talked about a day in January where the prosecutor's office and the public defenders go to the jail with a list of some down there of the lower level offenses with FTAs and focus on trying to get those pled early. And then we have set up an FTA date and FTA clinic.
Yes, and I sent out the flyers for the FTA clinic in February. I sent that out to you guys, and I also sent it out to community members to help spread the word.
What was the date you were going to do the FTA clinic in March at the detention center?
It was going to be in January on the 17th. Yes.
So that's January 17th
Yes,
in the jail.
in the jail. And then February 21st at St. Paul's. And then Matt wasn't able to make the courts meeting, but we just reviewed the jail FTA, doing that by Zoom. And then just we talked about the pretrial services as well. Leanna, did you want to add, or Judge Lindsay or Judge Taylor, did you want to add anything from the courts meeting that we discussed? Okay. All right. Any other questions before we go to public comment? I will ask you guys, the next for December, the fourth Thursday is the 22nd. And I know that that's right before Christmas Eve. Do we want to have a December meeting? Do we want to move it to a different day? What would you guys prefer?
I'm out.
around the 22nd, so.
Yeah, I'm already
Okay.
out.
Okay, so should we just shoot for January, or since that's going to be a busy time for everyone?
What I would suggest, if we get on, if we can get on the docket or the agenda, I should say, for the jail committee, seeing how that goes and seeing if we have any pressing needs that we need to talk about, because I don't want to, if we go there and get input that we need to work on something,
Yeah.
I don't want to wait a month.
Sure,
But if
So-
We do-
everything looks good, we may be able to just update by email.
right.
Can we do the 8th,
The
Thursday,
8th?
the 8th of December?
Okay, and just not have subcommittee meetings, because I don't know if we would
Correct.
be able to squeeze
Yeah.
subcommittee meetings into
Uh,
that.
that works for me.
Does the 8th work for everyone else? Okay. All right, we'll shoot for that then. That way we can have kind of a touch base meeting, and not wait so long. Okay. All right. Okay, so we have Sarah Moore.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm a little froggy. I'm under the weather, so.
I understand.
Well, I'm really excited about where we've gotten to with pretrial, that we're going to go forward and get that presented to the jails committee, and want to just continue to offer community support. I mean, we're AJRC is staying in contact with Douglas County, and we've also worked with other agencies across the nation, like Arizona and some folks in South Carolina who have slightly different structures and different job descriptions. So just want to offer that up. Additionally, this came up in a subcommittee meeting about, we really have to recognize that the community really resoundingly defeated and said no to a jail expansion, but the community does want solutions to be put in place. And the ones that we're pursuing are really relevant and very important. However, they're not the end all be all. And so there is a tremendous opportunity. And I do know that the holidays are coming up, but I would like to really encourage that the county get all decision makers in a room together alongside their community and really talk about what's possible. Next door to us in Sebastian County, they're moving forward with a sobering center. If you recall, in 2019, we actually took a group of decision makers to Oklahoma City and saw that in place. That's less than a $400,000 a year investment. Additionally, in other areas of the country, we have things like mobile crisis response teams who try to create that prevention of criminality into the system. And I'm just mentioning a couple, but there's 20 things at least out there that are evidence-based solutions that your community is very interested in. And we know that those are at a much lesser investment than a $114 million jail expansion or a $30 million jail expansion. Excuse me. And then I really am hopeful, if you look at the Douglas County, Kansas Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee website that we've sent in the past, and I'm happy to resend it, you will see that they have data analytics forward facing to really talk to the numbers and metrics of where they're at the time and where they're trying to go. And they measure themselves to see if they're heading that direction. And I'd like to really encourage that we look towards that as something, as an enhancement that we can all see as a measurement that we are all using to see if we're getting the movement we want. I have a data scientist that could help us with that. If you would like to connect with him, he's really helpful. The other thing that I wanted to see if we can get more specificity on is the crisis stabilization unit. I know that there are reports that have to be turned in to the state, I believe, under that statute. And while we said that there's a pickup of it, I have not heard how many beds are being used on a regular basis or how many clients are served. If I remember correctly, during our one of the last quorum court meetings, there was over $1 million of taxpayer money that's been dedicated each year to that facility. And so I'd like to understand how many folks are actually getting serviced, how many beds on average are available of the 16, and how many clients we're serving each week or each month. Thank you.
All right, we've got Jeff Glover.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to, I've joined a few of these meetings, and I just wanted to share from the VA perspective, that we're very excited of some of the movement into the diversion and also pretrial services. And I just wanted to offer up any assistance that the VA can provide for veterans that may be eligible for VA healthcare on how we could partner with the proposed case managers or whatever body it is that's making these risk assessments, and see if there's something the VA can do to help with veterans.
Hey, Jeff. Do you believe there's somebody that would be on staff that could work kind of as one of the peer support roles, so that, everybody that's a veteran would have a single point person for this program?
At this stage, I think it would likely be me, Nick. We're doing some reorganization. We were lucky enough to hire another VJO, so we're able to kind of stretch into some other coverage areas, and then also to kind of dig in a little bit more in some of our areas where we already have presence. And so I'm able to hand Benton County off now for Veterans Treatment Court, which opens up some additional time to do other projects in Washington. So I would like to say it could be me, and I could do eligibility and enrollment reviews to see if the VA is an option. And then if so, help get the veterans enrolled, and then work with the peer or the case manager on trying to create a treatment response if that's appropriate.
Well, Jeff, really, really appreciate that. That'll go a long way for the quorum court to know that you guys are on board with that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Drew, I don't know that I have your contact information. I don't know if mine is showing up on the screen for you, but if you want to send me some information, and if I'm available, I'd love to come to the committee meeting.
Yeah, so your contact information isn't showing up, but my email is D as in Drew Smith at WashingtonCountyAR.gov.
Great. I'll send you a message.
Awesome. That's all the hands we have. I know Stan Edelman had his hand up earlier, but he doesn't now. Stan, okay, there we go. All right, go ahead, Stan.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. I'm really here much more as a listener than a speaker today. Don't have much to add to the conversation, except that I've been kind of on the sidelines the last few months, some health and some other reasons. But just what I'm hearing today encourages me in a number of different ways. The emphasis in the conversation you all are having on services and also the success of the warrant clearance clinics, which I've been involved in most, but not all of them. They're also very, very encouraging. Going forward, I would just offer this, that during the year that the jail ombudsman program was in operation, we amassed some, call it learning, some of it statistical, some of it experiential. I got to work one way or another with most everybody on the screen today, and I'm here just kind of offer whatever assistance from any of the experience that we had with the ombudsman project, which I think can come to bear going forward. That's really all I wanted to say today. It's been a few months since I've been even a passive listener at the meeting. Just wanted to check back in with you all and let me know how I can help.
All right. Thank you so much, Stan.
Sure.
All right. Well, everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a good day.
Thanks.
Mike.